tonight I'm sitting with Assemblyman Greg Ball. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you? Nice
Very
to see you.
good. So, you're in the midst of the campaign right now, and in 2 weeks it's the primaries.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about everything?
I feel great.
So far.
Yeah, it's kind of like Groundhog Day. Every 2 years I've run without the endorsement of any political party, from Republican to Communist, including my own, right? My own Republican Party. I'm a consummate outsider in a state where we've gone from being the Empire State to the Vampire State, which is sucking the lifeblood out of our communities, our small businesses, our families. And I'm proud of that. I wear it as a badge of honor that I don't have that endorsement. And if you look at the fact that this job pays $79,000 a year, and they've spent over $2 million now to try to take me out, I do wear it as a badge of honor because it shows that I'm doing my job, and I look forward to returning to Albany and being the greatest threat to the status quo that they've ever seen in that Senate chamber.
I think that sounds like a good thing. I have a question.
Yep.
So, how did you first, or why did you first get involved in politics?
My mom asks me the same thing every day and says, Greg, you really need to get a real job. And, I do love public service. I do love the campaigns because of the interaction with voters and with taxpayers and people. It's been an honor to be an assemblyman and because by using your position or leveraging your position, you can help people that need help, whether it be special needs children and their families, or children with autism, or seniors, or small business owners. But it's a disgusting business. Politics is gross in many instances.
Looking from an outside point of view, it kind of seems a little bit like high school drama sometimes. The things you hear in the newspapers, the things you see on TV, and
I never liked high school, and now I'm back in the midst of it. And the New York State Legislature is an awful lot. Actually, it's a little lower than high school. You have full-grown men and women who, over the summer, couldn't agree to pass a budget, and they actually shut down the Senate chamber. They shut off the lights, and when they reconvened, they refused to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance because it would give standing to the other side to move forward with session. So you have full-grown men and women. The average age of a Republican state senator is over 70 years of age. They've actually called the state senate the best nursing home in America. Yet at the same time, they're acting like school kids.
it seems like that. And everything that you do here and you see, it's like, why would you get involved in politics then? You know, what makes it so intriguing to you that you want to be a part of it and you want to make a change?
We have this election cycle at the national and state level is going to decide whether the United States of America becomes a Western European country or another France, or whether this state becomes another California or another Detroit. And you know, this is the first time in American history that moms and dads and grandparents don't believe that their children and their grandchildren are going to have a better standard of living than they've had. And it is not a fun experience every 2 years to go through the horrific campaigns that I've gone through because I'm an outsider and because I stand up for what I believe in. I have a huge target on my back. But at the same time, if men and women do not stand up, we need more, and it's from both political persuasions. Because Albany is corrupt, not because it's run by Democrats, it's run by Republicans. Joe Bruno, he was a Republican. He's a crook. He was a crook by any other name. The reality is that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the question is a good one because a lot of good men and women do not run for public office because they don't want to go through the crucible that is the campaign and being attacked. And you see, even in this campaign, it's not enough for opponents to disagree on the issues. They want to resort to the politics of personal destruction. And
an example of that, I watched the debate on the Senate floor about the .50 caliber, banning the .50 caliber rifle.
Right.
And I watched it, and all I'm thinking to myself is, wait, the issue here at hand is banning the .50 caliber rifle, correct?
yeah,
And this was between you and Assemblyman Engelbright?
Levine, I believe. Engelbright was on there as well. Yeah.
That's the part I saw at least.
Yeah.
And all I'm thinking is, they keep going back and forth at each other, jabbing each other, insulting one another, and the real issue at hand has really not been focused on. And it seems like a lot of issues that the state's dealing with right now, it seems like they're not being focused on. They're not being, there's no solutions because there is so many problems, and there's all the smear campaigns and, people insulting one another, and it's like, why are we not dealing with the real issues at hand?
And right now the state Senate is so evenly divided, and the Republicans have wanted to make sure that the Democrats didn't have anything to run on in the election season, anything good. The Democrats felt the same way about the Republicans, so they stalemated. And at the end of the day, we've lost nearly 2 million New Yorkers in the state of New York. And oh, by the way, those are the New Yorkers that aren't on the social, that do not rely upon the government for their livelihood. The people that are leaving the state are the small business owners, the working families, the seniors who are paying the bills. And when another 2 million New Yorkers follow their footsteps, which they're doing because people are voting with their feet, there's not going to be anybody left to pay the bills, and lights are going to be out in the state of New York. And you have a legislature that it's a club mentality up there. They don't want to attack each other. And when they do attack each other, it's on extremely partisan or personal level. And you do not have a serious debate of the issues. We need comprehensive school tax reform. We need a property tax cap. We need a free school tax for seniors. The entire focus of this last session was the budget. And that focus brought a 4-month late overdue budget, which increased spending by over $1 billion. It increased taxes and fees. And at the same time, there was never a single discussion about how you create jobs in this state. We're amidst a jobless recovery. The typical New York State recession lasts twice the national average. And we passed a budget that was unsustainable, relied upon backdoor borrowing, increased taxes and fees, and never once had a discussion about how to create jobs and how to, embrace the small business owners who are the key to an eventual recovery.
You mentioned before the senior citizen school tax freeze. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, going door to door, when you do go door to door in the community, but anywhere in the community, you can sense the pain that's out there because of our school tax system. 67% of everybody's property tax bill are the school taxes. And nobody is saying that we shouldn't embrace education and try to have the best education in the country.
That's, one of the most important things.
It is, if not the. Especially in a global economy where we need to make sure that we're putting out citizens who can compete in that global economy. But at the same time, we have a school tax system and a method of taxation that relies upon an outdated property value model, which made sense when we lived on a farm. I don't know if you milked the cows this morning.
No.
I know I'm not heading home to slop the hogs tonight.
No, not tonight, or yesterday either.
Or tomorrow, maybe sometime in the future. But at the same time, the system that is collecting taxes from our seniors and from our small businesses, from our communities, is based on a property value model approach that made sense when we were doing those things. And we all lived on farms. So we have to reform that approach. When you knock on the doors and you talk to the seniors, and they're 75, 77, 78 or older, and you go in the home and you see in their living room or in their den the paperwork that's just mounted up to the walls. And they're at a point in their lives where they built the community, they raised kids there, they've been paying taxes for
Many
north
years.
of 60 years. They should be able to enjoy the home that they built and the community that they love and enjoy the rest of their lives. But you have conversation where they say, well, I think I'm going to have to downsize. When you're 77 years old, you don't want to be talking about downsizing.
It's the last thing
this
you
isn't
want to do.
IBM. You don't want to be thinking about, do I have to move at 77? Do I have to move to North Carolina? Do I have to move to Arizona? Do I have to move to Florida? And not only that, we have a moral obligation, and a lot of the community events that are run in our communities are run by seniors. Go to any pancake breakfast, go to any event on the weekends. I call it the silver backbone of the Hudson Valley. But when a senior is taxed out of their home, what happens? Typically, a young family moves in. We welcome them. But as cute and cuddly as those floppy-haired kids may be, they have a $20,000 price tag on their head per student to the local school system. So by freezing school taxes for seniors at the age of 65, which is what Connecticut does, a state right to our east, we allow seniors to stay in their home. We'll actually be saving money in the long run, and it's something we've got to take seriously.
But would that be, okay, you hit 65, would that be across the spectrum?
You would hit, okay, so this is what it would be. It would allow all STAR benefits and all property tax relief benefits that are afforded now. It would be retroactive for seniors over 65. And at the age of 65, you would know, this is what my school tax bill is now. This is what it'll be when I'm 75, 85, and God willing, when I'm 105. Because seniors aren't saying that they don't want to pay their fair share, okay? What seniors are saying is they cannot keep up with
The
tax
increase.
increases that increase by 7, 8, 9, 10% a year compounded annually.
But who can really? I mean,
Exactly. And it's unconscionable and it's immoral because we're taxing them out of their homes at a moment when they should be able to afford and enjoy it. And it's got to be priority number one.
talking about taxes, tell me about the Tea Party.
The Tea Party is really the...
Well, wait, first of all,
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody recently, and we were talking about the Tea Party and everything, and they said, you know what the T in Tea Party really means? And I'm like, yeah, and we were talking about it, and he was like, no, why don't you explain what the T in Tea Party
Quiz.
actually
I hope I
stands
know.
for?
Taxed enough already?
There you
I hope
go.
I got it. Bingo.
There you
quiz.
go.
Okay, good. Look, I mean, the Tea Party is really only the silent majority. And whether it be, it's existed other times in American history, whether it be any third-party movement. Ross Perot's movement, United We Stand America, could have been a very similar uprising. You had a billion, this is when I first got involved in politics, and was very intrigued. If you remember that race, you had a crazy billionaire from Texas. You had George Bush Sr., who was he was an American hero, naval aviator, Yale grad, head of the CIA, vice president. And this is a very impressive man. He had over 90% approval ratings at one point, got done with a very successful war. And you had Bill Clinton, who was quite possibly the most effective politician that we have had at that point. An extremely impressive politician. And that crazy billionaire in national polls was actually beating both of them head to head until he dropped out and said he had tinfoil on his head and that the Cubans were coming to kill him. But he was ahead. And that third party movement really was the silent majority at that time, saying, if you remember his charts and talking about the debt and the spending and our reliance upon foreign governments, Ross Perot built up a great amount of steam during that time. The Tea Party movement is indicative of that third party movement. It's the silent majority who want their country back. And people say, well, back from what? The amount of spending, the government expansion. And it's not a Republican movement. I mean, if you really talk to activists who are in the Tea Party movement or members of that silent majority, they're not happy with either party for good reason. I'm not happy with either party. I wasn't happy with the spending and the government expansion under George Bush, and I'm not happy with George Bush's third term under President Obama. And the silent majority, people say, well, why are the Tea Party activists so active during the Obama administration, but they weren't during the Bush administration? They were active during the Bush administration. They just, instead, where now the Tea Party folks they're going to go out and vote proactively. The Tea Party activists at that point just refused to vote, and that's why Republicans lost so many seats. And in 1994, the Gingrich Revolution really could have been seen as an extension of Ross Perot's movement in 1992. And unfortunately, the Republicans swept, and it only took them 6 or 8 years to begin spending like drunken sailors, as the Democrats took 40 years to. So I think the key with the Tea Party is going to be, yes, win this election. I believe that you'll see Republican majorities in both houses. I think it'll be a big sweep for the Republicans. But the Republicans, foolishly, at the national level, will certainly take it as an endorsement of the Republican Party. It has nothing to do with an endorsement of the Republican Party. The Republican leaders are not representative of the silent majority. Both parties have been corrupted by the special interests and by the corporate interests. So it's going to be indicative, it's going to be important, incumbent upon the Tea Party activists, the silent majority, that the job is not done on September 14th and in November. The job continues, and we're going to have to hold Republicans accountable to maintain their campaign platform of limited government, lower taxation, secure our borders, and the things that 80% of Americans can agree upon. And if we don't follow through after the elections, the Republicans are going to be just as bad as the Democrats, sadly.
Both sides are at fault for many things, and you mentioned something about securing our borders. Let's talk about illegal immigration, the Arizona law that's been enacted. Do you think that other states should take on similar laws like that?
I think it's an indictment upon our federal government that states like Arizona actually have to move forward because of a flawed and failed federal policy.